What's going on, boys? Life video. Today we're talking about your value as a human being, and also how we deal with it. Some road bumps. Firstly, no one is born with any inherent value aside from what they could possibly produce. And I think that is a reality all humans are, on some level, aware of and unsettled by. Now, how do we know humans are aware of our own worthlessness? At least starting out. Well, because we tried to convince others and ourselves of our value, or some narrative about our value, every single day of our lives. An experiment I encourage you to try. Any conversation with anyone that lasts longer than 2 minutes and gets outside the small talk phase, observe what they talk about. And I mean any conversation with anyone. They're going to try to elevate themselves in your mind, or give you information that will lead to your elevating them in your mind. They're going to try to convince you in any way possible they are more than they are. Or they're going to construct themselves in a way that would make them appear to be more than they are in your mind. Every single time a human will push an angle that makes them appear valuable in some way, even if that isn't immediately apparent. Most of the time it will be, but if it isn't immediately, watch, and those signs will pop up eventually. And you do the same thing. You have an angle about yourself that makes you feel like you're more than you are. You're creating a superior image of yourself that almost certainly does not reflect who you really are. Every single human does it, and I think it's because of our fear of ourselves without conscious scaffolding, controlling how people perceive us and how we perceive ourselves. It might feel bad to be perceived negatively, but the real threat is the way people will treat you if they perceive you negatively. Whatever negatively means according to that perception. At best, you lose out on resources. At worst, people are now hostile toward you. You lose control of something. That's scary. And I think that's why humans spend so much time developing and propagating angles about themselves. There's this childish, quotes, higher consciousness need for validation on the one hand, and on the other, there is an animal, lower consciousness fear of being perceived the way you probably are. So, to feel better about yourself and to protect yourself, you push an angle. An angle that protects you from feeling like and being perceived as the less than substantial, wretched flesh you really are. The idea of being appraised for what you are, as what you are, is terrifying. Especially considering the nature of human social dynamics. What is the second thing someone is going to do in a conversation, alongside or just after pushing an angle about themselves? Criticizing someone else. Humans are programmed to pull back those layers of ego promotion to figure out exactly what people are, as they are, so they can tear them down. Humans are built for mob violence, and violence doesn't always mean hitting someone. People like tearing other people down and feeling justified. You will not find a human being who does not promote an image of themselves and try to tear down someone else or another group of people. We shouldn't do that, but we do, and there's no real way to get out of it. If you try not to play the game, you're gonna get torn down. I think that's why this worth anxiety is so strong in people. On some level, we're all aware of the ugly animals we are, and we know we'll be targeted if we're perceived as less than fit, which we are. You might be able to develop fitness in some areas, but there are always people who will be more fit or can market themselves as more fit, and there are a million areas you are worse than lacking. So in response, for our mental health and our social positions, we try to convince ourselves we're more than we are, and then we try to convince other people. Now, as this promotion process is happening, you'll encounter moments of humiliation. Moments you out yourself as the ugly, stupid animal you really are inside. That's why those moments are so painful. That's why they make you want to crawl inside your non-existent shell. Not people's reaction to you, at least not necessarily, but the reality, or having to confront the reality, you are not who you promote yourself to be. 20 years later, new place, new people, new mindset, new life. You think about that one thing that happened 20 years ago, and you curl up in a ball inside and want to die. People's reactions are important, and they have an incredible effect on you, but if it were just reactions, you would not feel the way you do when you remember those humiliating moments. You feel that way because you're being reminded you are not who you say you are. It's like you, quotes, are your idea of yourself, and you're lugging around the reality of who you are. And even if the reality of who you are has changed, you're still lugging around the idea, or not even the idea, the knowledge at any given moment who you say you are isn't who you really are. Even if who you really are has changed, there's still a disconnect, and that disconnect will cause problems. Another aspect of that fear, that anxiety, or what makes those humiliating little moments hurt so much, seems to be the way you, quotes, or if you are a nugget floating around, you exist mostly in your higher consciousness idea of yourself. You work to separate yourself from what you are, and you spend most of your time in who you are. So those moments, those humiliating moments, hurt so much because when your idea of yourself gets shattered by who you really are, what you really are, you, as you, stop being able to exist correctly. Some personal examples. When I was 3, probably 3, it might be 4, but it was a bit before kindergarten, I was at a Filipino ethnic get-together. My grandfather, I still don't understand exactly how all that worked, but where we lived, there was a collection of Filipino immigrants who would get together and do stuff. My grandfather was a part of them. And I was at one, and a kid had a piece of candy, like a little kid, so even younger, smaller than I was. Especially younger and smaller than I was. And I took it from him, and I ate it, and I made him cry. That shit has been in the back of my mind my entire life, and every time I think about it, I want to die. Another example. Middle school / early high school. The height of Skimmerlit's horror at his own worthlessness. I told one of my friends I beat Arkham Asylum on hard. I hadn't beaten it on hard. I barely beat it on easy because I was shit at games. In fact, I was shit at everything. At that age, I was so terrified of my own shitness, I lied about everything. Tried to make myself seem so much better than I was because I knew I wasn't better than anyone. I was worse than everyone. And my friend checked my PlayStation achievements and found out I hadn't beaten it on hard. But he had, because he wanted to beat me. And he caught me lying to try to seem cool. And the fact Arkham Asylum on hard is the thing I chose to try to seem cool says everything you need to know about how embarrassingly worthless I was at that age. And I say at that age, but it's still happening today. Can't get away from it. Even when you know about it, you can't get away from your own instinctual fear of what you are not being good enough. Gosh darn recent example. I mentioned I've been visiting with extended family recently. I attended my cousin's graduation from a bougie, Christian-y, businessy, networky high school. And I love my cousin, but he reminds me a whole lot of myself when I was that age. Shockingly similar. Huge disconnect between who versus what, and the response being nervously to over-promote who while ignoring what. And we're talking, and while we're talking, before I could catch myself, was thinking about all the ways great Skimmerlit did everything he did, but better. I was doing it because I was jealous. His school was gorgeous. He had shitty social connections, but he had social connections, not the social knot I had. And most frustrating of all, he has a strong civilian work ethic that means he's going to be able to fit in well wherever he goes. All that shit was bugging me the entire time. And the fact that I felt the need, even if just internally, to compete with someone 18 should indicate something's wrong. And then he says either he already has his AA or he's about to have his AA because he earned most of it in high school. And I don't doubt him, but it didn't make sense the way he explained it, and I did not react well. It was a split second, but I tried to impose what I think I know over what he was telling me. And I stopped myself, but the fact that it even, for a split second, went out of my head and out of my mouth, it was like I slapped myself and realized what I was doing. What the fuck am I doing? If I feel threatened by the idea someone I'm related to might have done something better than I did, that means I'm worthless. I have something to feel insecure about. Something I feel insecure enough about to start to come out of my mouth about it. What the fuck am I doing? I've spent the last few years trying not to fall into that trap. Yet that split second was enough to indicate not just there is a disconnect between the person I present myself to be and who I really am, but also it's a wide gap. It's a wide enough gap I feel threatened enough to try to defend it like a stupid animal. So about a week passes and I am mowing. And glad to have yard work again. Yard work is a great time to think about things. And I opened the Am I a Bad Person file again. And the answer is an overwhelming yes. What I am is a stupid animal. A shitty animal. Trapped in that exact promotion, teardown cycle I've been aware of. I am aware of. But being aware of it doesn't make you, or doesn't get you outside of it. And everyone else might be the exact same. They might not be aware of it, but that doesn't make you any better. No matter what we do, we're going to be stuck trying to convince ourselves and others we are not the ugly things we are. Now, there are things you can do to work against that cycle, but this video's point is to point out that cycle, or I hate that cycle exists, and you're going to be dealing with it in yourself and other people forever. Nobody is ever good enough, especially not you, but if you're aware of that process and the effect it has on you, the things it can make you think and do, you can at least start working on it. This was supposed to be one video, dipping into NE and TI for a second, MBTI stuff. The way NE and TI work, you can have 50 ideas swirling together as one idea, but the moment you try to put them into words and break them apart, everything falls apart. So, for right now, you know who you are and what you are separate. Idealization / promotion versus reality, in you and everyone else. To you and to everyone else. Try not to let them get too separate, and don't let that separation make you do or say anything bad. Or try not to. It's gonna happen, but you can at least mitigate it. And watch for it in other people. If you see anyone who lets that separation get too wide, you know something really bad is going to happen with them. You don't want to be dragged down when that happens. But that about rippity wraps this one up. I hope you enjoyed watching, because I certainly enjoyed making it. There are a bunch of videos I want to make, and I know I'm going to forget the core ideas of a few of them. I hope this one's useful. Like if you enjoyed, because it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, because we do this shit sometimes. And comment your thoughts, because I love hearing from you. What is your, or what's one of your painful, humiliating moments in which your idea of yourself and the ugly thing you really are got outed? Love hearing about those things. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We have a lot of fun on this channel. So much fun, in fact, you can shake it up, pour room temperature water on it, then pour hot water on it, and drink it for some dirt-tasting caffeine. And you can listen to music that helps you feel a little cultural. It's a lot of fun. We're going to talk about that at some point, too. Love this shit. It's so fucking stupid and great. That's how much we have on this channel, and I look forward to doing this with you guys again in the future.